RI Academy Podcast One Student, One Creativity.
Welcome to our podcast. One to the one creativity. I'm your host, Lisa, and today's episode is all about the ocean, health, and prejudice. But with a surprise, we are detecting differences within seven leaders that strategy to uncover hidden layers and personal connections. Joining me is Nadira, a research doctor student who is successfully narrate the ocean with welcome, Nadira.
Thank you, Sabita. I'm super excited to talk about my favorite book and my two favorite characters, Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy. Come on, let's start.
Before we start, let's talk out to our listeners. Grab your copy of that and prejudice or a cup of tea. This is going to be a juicy discussion. Let's start with describing Nadira. How would you summarize the novel's research for someone new to outfit?
Well, Pride and Prejudice is set in early 19th century England and follows the Bennet family, especially Elizabeth, the second eldest daughter. The plot revolves around marriage, class, and misunderstandings. Austen uses irony and dialogue, a three-act structure, and social satire that highlighted societal absurdities. The letter writing scenes, like Darcy's letter to Elizabeth, are key turning points that shift the narrative from gossip to raw truth.
Okay, next, engaging moments that make your thought face are their your Nadira. Which scene in Pride and Prejudice makes you feel like you are inside the story?
Well, for me, I think uh, I will choose Darcy's first proposal. For me, it is super unforgettable. He says something like, I have I will not be repressed by my feelings, and you must allow me to tell you how I ardently admire you and love you. But then he says something like insulting her family. And I was like, who are you to insult Elizabeth's family like that? I mean, you love her, but then you insult her family. That's actually absurd. I felt Elizabeth's anger like it was my own. My heart was racing. Partly because it's romantic, of course, but mostly it's because of so painfully awkward and just absurd. How could you propose to someone you love but then insult their family? That is just not quite right for me. But it is so unforgettable.
Yes, I do believe that is poet of a film.
RI Academy Podcast One Student, One Creativity.
Welcome back to every podcast where we don't get to see now let's consider this character. How does often this social tolerance is different?
Well, let's take Mrs. Bennet, Elizabeth's mother. Her obsession with marriage, for me, isn't just for comic relief. It's survival. In a society where women can't inherit, her desperation reflects real fears. I think that Mrs. Bennet only cares about her daughter and she loves her daughter so much that she will be devastated if their daughters won't have any home or won't don't know where to live if their father died. And even Lydia's recklessness, I think, stems from limited choices, right?
What about Mr. Darcy?
While for Mr. Darcy, on the other hand, I think that he is the picture of aristocratic pride. He dismisses Elizabeth as tolerable and looks down on her family's inferior connections. And I think he feels that way because his upbringing, he was raised to be that way. And I don't blame him, but thank God, because of Elizabeth's rejection, forces him to confront his flaws, and by the end of the day, he acknowledges his mistake and treats Elizabeth as his equal. Austen uses his growth to critique rigid class hierarchies.
Wow, that's such a good analysis. It really shows how often his character to his character. Now, let's explore Nadira. Why do you think Elizabeth rejects their first proposal?
Well, if I'm being honest with you, Sabita, if I were Elizabeth, I would be sure to reject him too. Darcy's proposal is filled with pride and insults, and he criticizes her family's social status, played a big role in Jane's heartbreak, and comes across as arrogant. I think that Elizabeth values respect and equality. And by doing so, by rejecting Darcy's first proposal, I think that her refusal is a powerful act of self respect and moral integrity.
Alright, now we can connect this story to our modern life. How does this 2000 years old novel connect with modern life?
Well, I think it's surprisingly relevant. Darcy's horrible comment is like getting ghosted on a dating app, while Lydia's scandal is like the Regency version of a viral TikTok scandal. Darcy's wealth, I think, mirrors billionaires, modern billionaires, and Elizabeth's refusal to marry for money is like turning down a job that doesn't align with your values. Personally, I relate to Elizabeth being underestimated. It's like when someone dismisses your idea just because of your age or your gender.
Right. I really can imagine the part where the external is the like a booming and circular does it nowadays.
Right?
Next, let's investigate what the bird themes and symbols stand out.
Well, I think that for the deeper themes, the novel critiques how pride and prejudice blinds us, showing that empathy can break these barriers. Austen uses marriage to explore class and gender, contrasting Charlotte's pragmatic marriage with Elizabeth's refusal to marry without love.
In the graphic symbols,
For the underrated symbols, I think Pemberley, Darcy's estate for sure. It symbolizes his true self. I think it's grand, but also grounded. Elizabeth falling for Pemberley is like her falling for his integrity, not his wealth.
RI Academy Podcast One Student, One Creativity.
welcome back to our podcast. What's the one creativity? Judging Nadira. What's this novel?
If I have to rate this novel, I think I will give it a 4.5 per 5 stars. I think that Austen's wit and social critique are timeless. But I do admit that in this novel, there's a lack of diverse voices, like servants, lower class perspectives, and reflects the era's limitations. But still, it is a must read.
About anything?
Well, I would love a subplot exploring Jane's inner life. She's often reduced to the sweet sister, but what's her take on societal pressure? I mean, like, how does she cope with everything around her? How does she cope with society pressure? And how does she cope with what is expected from her? Yeah, I would love to hear Jane's inner life.
Thank you, Nadira. To our listeners, try these strategies with your favorite books and podcast.
And remember, literature isn't passive. Your reactions matter. Whether you love Darcy or hate him, your voice adds to the story, right?
Yes, there are subjects in the comments. Next week, we are decoding with take until then, reading Siberia.
RI Academy Podcast One Student, One Creativity.